Hello, Van Applegate here again with a series of conversations about what's going on in West Virginia. We've talked to small business owners, entrepreneurs, and the like, and today we're joined by somebody who's a little bit of everything, a poet, an author, and an entrepreneur here in West Virginia. And if you are familiar with anything West Virginia related online, you've probably seen her name. Crystal Good is joining me, and today she's in the middle of a campaign. Crystal, take it
Yes.
away. What are we running for? You called me a couple weeks ago to tell me that you were running for office, and I was very excited because that's exactly what I wanted to see from you. This is a special office. What's going on?
Social media senator of the Digital District for West Virginia. So this is not a real office, even though when I went to the Secretary of State's, we were doing some campaign photos, and went to the Secretary of State's office, and they were very sweet in reminding me that this is not a real office, Crystal. You can't really register for this. Yes, I know that, but the idea is that online, right? We're creating an atmosphere of a political campaign, right? And it's sort of in that sort of genre of, any of the fake news shows and that thing, to really just draw attention to the idea of what is a digital district and what are the applications for social media in our world today, in our government today. So social media senator is an idea that I could be a senator, you can be a senator, we can have a Senate, a Congress of ideas, if you will, where the people can come together and we can start a conversation. Because what I see is that we have low voter turnout, we know this. West Virginia is completely labeled as apathetic, nobody cares, blah, blah, blah. But the truth is, what I see and what other people see in our social media world is people are talking about politics. So you can't be not have these conversations going on in this convenience. So that's a little bit of the idea.
Right. Things that I think is so important is you're really bridging the gap between a virtual setting and a real world setting. You're talking about physically bringing the ideas that are set forth on Facebook. We just came out of one of the craziest legislative sessions to date, and there was a lot of moaning and groaning on Facebook. And some of our legislative leaders are on social media. Some of them, in the most recent session, actually deleted their accounts or blocked their accounts because I think they were bombarded by a lot of confrontational, I guess would probably be the lightest word to use, opinions. But you actually plan on taking some of these online arguments and bringing them to them in person. Tell me a little bit about how you kind of want to do that.
That's the idea. I have a marketing firm, Mixed Media, and this session I actually did a report on the legislature and where, who's on Twitter, what their clout scores are, who's the top. The Democrats are actually a C. I give them a grade. Actually, they're a D, excuse me, and the Republicans are a C. So, I'm already looking at this, and I think that's kind of started the conversation a little bit about what is the role of politicians on social media and engagement. And I started paying attention to this just because I think it's important to share during the water crisis, because Delegate Nisha Poor and other folks in Charleston became really important when there was a crisis. People trusted their social media to tell them where they needed to go, what was going on, what was the emergency situation. So in that context, having your representative not on this platform is not necessarily serving the community. On the other side, how politicians engage with constituents, I think is really the way that the future is moving. We're all in this sort of new paradigm. When we think back to President Obama being elected, I mean, it's very clearly, they call it, Barack 2.0. This is we're not going to move away from this. So we might as well learn how to engage in the platform and start to structure it. So the idea of being a social media senator and starting to just put that sort of, marketing term out there to get people thinking about what is the role of this digital district in our real world. Yeah, so I think that's hopefully what I would think and would hope, that maybe I'm creating that conversation within not just our Facebook world, but also in our
Fantastic. One of the things that I find so interesting is that I think a lot of elected officials and folks in my world also in the broadcast industry early on thought that this was kind of a fad, that this is something that would come and go, but it's really proven that that's not the case. It's actually adapted over the last almost decade now, and one of the things that intrigues me is the idea that you're going to be representing the ideas of others, and in a state that is so different in ideas. Depending on where you're at geographically. I mean, West Virginia is almost while it is Appalachia, is very much a microcosm of America in the sense that, there's Democrats, Republicans. How do you plan on, really containing those ideas and bringing them to the people that matter?
Well, I think that even the idea of being a social media senator in a state where every county is limited in their broadband service is a bit of an oxymoron. How is that possible? How can people even vote for me? Which is almost in the same. When I say vote.
Right.
So to me, I am trying to create a conversation. That's where we start. Nothing. And to me, so this is. I think people take this idea and they sort of become very judgmental in it, and how and this and this. And it's like everything starts with a conversation. I can't even sort of aggregate or do sentiment analysis or do anything on what the people are saying if the people aren't on the platform, right? They don't have access to it. So first let's talk about broadband in West Virginia, right? Mm-hmm. And then let's talk about how we start to create a platform that can engage these voices, in ways that meet them where they are. I am really frustrated with the way that our system is set up. I don't have time to run to the Capitol for every issue that I care about. Right. I don't necessarily have time to even start to decode or break down what they are, because we don't present these issues in ways that everyday people, and when I say everyday people, the average West Virginian can really understand. I mean, even if you talk to some of our what we would consider our most educated West Virginians, and you start to ask questions about Common Core, they don't know either, right? Right. So I think what I'm doing is looking at the way that the process is set up, and I feel as if, we're in the 21st century now, right? And we're still using very old methods. There's a wonderful TED Talk out there. I shared it with you. Pia Mancini, she started the Net Party in Argentina, right, which is sort of something similar around this idea. Actually, it is this idea. I just, there's nothing new under the sun. I discovered this TED Talk last night, and it really just warmed me to realize, I'm not the only one that's thinking this way. But what are the applications for modern technology in a system that's very old, printing press old,
Right. I mean, one of the things that really stuck out in that TED Talk, and I'll post the link when I post this, is that if it's okay with you, I like the idea of representation without conversation, is how she put it, and that's exactly what you're trying to do, is really bring to light the issues, make sure everybody sees them and has a chance to voice their opinion. I mean, again, going back and hearkening on this past legislative session, it was so eye-opening to me, but we really did see some success stories in how well social media can rally, at least for individual causes. Petitions at the last minute, write and sign your name to a letter to the governor. There was a lot of those going around on a lot of key issues, and I think it really strengthens the idea that you have here, is that this is really, I mean, for all intents and purposes, this is how we do business now, and I think you're bringing that to light.
And with that, people want answers from me. They want definitive things. What is this? What is that? This is a crowdsourcing, idea. I'm putting it on the table, right? And I am putting my time and, just that when you believe in something, you move in it. That's what my life has told me. That's been my experience. But for me to say, oh, here's exactly what this is, defeats the purpose, right? This is about a conversation. So let me ask, what is a social media senator? What could a social media senator be? And sort of busting through, the idea that this is about me becoming, a senator. I want you to be a senator too. I want everybody to come into this Congress of Ideas where we act like ladies and gentlemen, so to speak, and we can have a discussion, and we can ask questions, and we can post links, and we can, do webcasts, and we can start to be engaged citizens on a platform, right? But then also, how do we take that message to meet the average, 18-year-old voter where they are? And maybe that's not on Facebook. Maybe that's on Tumblr, maybe that's on Snapchat. I feel like, when we go and we hang our political posters in places, right? We take those posters to where the people are. When we place ads, we place them where the people are, and we need to start thinking this way also about our digital media.
Fantastic. What has been the response? You've been on this now. How many weeks have you been public with this?
Oh, just 1 week. The campaign is 1 week. So we're in the last 24-hour stretch here. Since I believe the Facebook page has about 1,000 likes. I'm not sure what our votes are, because the vote is where you sign a petition, right? And what I'm trying to do is say, are people interested in this, right? Are they interested in this idea? I know it's a little bit chunky. I know it's very conceptual. I know it's new, but the response has been good. The petition, I'm not sure how many it has. The last time I put a report, I think it was 60 times the average population of Thurman, and Thurman has 5 people. So I'm having fun with this in regards of spoofing off of a political campaign, and I think that that's okay. And I actually think that coming off this session, whether you're Democrat or Republican, it was really exhausting. The weather was bad. I mean, just new people and new places trying to figure out where they're going, what is the process, and just for some people, a really, really gut-wrenching war of ideas and issues. So coming out with this, I hope to kind of have a little bit of light heart and inspiration too, because I think that's necessary. I think that West Virginians have a great sense of humor. And I also think that this is a way of approaching. You have to remember, I'm a poet and a creative person in that regard, and so introducing this idea, encouraging your crazy good idea. What are the possibilities outside of wrong or right? I mean, I was just sort of thinking around quantum physics and how that's something that I'm interested in. STEM and technology and all these things are things that I explore. Even just a little bit about how quantum physics works. You would know that I wouldn't be talking to you today if there wasn't quantum computing, if this wasn't a true science and things, But we tend to live in sort of a Newtonian, just sort of Einstein world that is true, but there's other dimensions and there's other parallels, and we're experiencing them. So I don't see why that sort of thinking can't be applied to our sort of our political process.
Awesome. Well, speaking of broadband, you broke up there just for a second, but I think we got you back. But I really admire what you're doing. I think you're the perfect person to really bring this kind of campaign and this kind of new age way of thinking to the spotlight. And what better place than West Virginia to kind of pilot something like this? As far as I know, I mean, I haven't heard of anybody else really doing it like you have elsewhere. So I think it's a great way to put us on the map, and I think it's a really interesting approach to not only social media and not only politics, but really bridging the gap between the physical and kind of this webosphere that we have, where people are really taking their concerns. So, is there anything else you want to say? Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Just I would encourage anybody to sign the petition, vote. And one thing that I've observed in this, and I don't know, being a student of Appalachian culture, is that or is it the web? But I am curious. It's okay to critique ideas, and I think that sometimes when you live in a small town or a small state, we've all learned the etiquette that goes there, right? You have to speak to your enemies in the grocery store, so you try not to make any, or it's always that gentle hello or bless her heart or those sort of phrases that we say. But I'm open. I'm suggesting that we create a conversation, and the conversation is not always one-sided. And I think that's another reason. I think we're all limited based on our knowing on our Facebook feed. And often our Facebook feed or what we subscribe to are people that think like us, right? And I don't think that we get the best solution when we don't have diversity in the room. And that includes a diversity of ideas. So with that, I would like to encourage dialogue is about bringing many voices into the room.
And that said, where can people get a hold of you online?
Well, there's Crystal Good. You do a Google there on Facebook. Well, not a Google, but do a Facebook search. I also have a website, crystalgood.net, and there you'll find a little bit about the campaign and my poetry and just different things, writings that I have. And so you can find me at Twitter at cgoodwoman, and I guess maybe around town if you're in Charleston.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I hope this clarifies some of what it is that you're planning on doing, and I think it's just a great idea, and we look forward to seeing how this grows and how it develops over the weeks and months ahead. So thank you so much.
Thank you, and I appreciate the work you're doing too. Thank you so much.